The movie opens far away from Earth, showing the world of the Yautja instead of humans for the first time in the series. Their harsh culture is revealed, where strength and hunting skill determine status, and weaker members are looked down upon. Quay's ship descends through the atmosphere and lands heavily on the barren surface of the planet. The engines power down, leaving only the sound of wind moving across the empty landscape. He steps out alone, already in hunting mode, scanning the ground for signs of Dek. When Dek is found, a fight immediately begins between them. The confrontation is intense, but Quay eventually forces Dek to calm down rather than continue fighting. Quay explains that he was sent by their father to kill Dek. He warns him about their father's intentions. The two brothers sit tensely inside the dimly lit ship. Dek remains angry and wounded, struggling to process what he has just learned. For a brief moment, it seems possible that they might regroup and plan their next move together. Suddenly, alarms sound. The ship's sensors detect another Yautja approaching. Their father, Njar, has tracked them. The tension rises instantly as both brothers realize there is no time to escape. Njar boards the ship with authority, moving like a predator who expects obedience. He asks Quay why Dek is still alive. Quay responds that Dek deserves a chance to hunt and prove himself. Dek instinctively raises his weapons, prepared to defend himself, while Quay positions himself between Dek and their father. A tense standoff begins. The fight starts quickly and brutally. Njar strikes first, using his size and experience to overpower Quay. Dek attempts to assist, but he is still injured from exile and previous struggles. Quay fights bravely, blocking and countering where possible, but his attacks fail to stop their father. Dek strikes desperately, yet his inexperience becomes clear. Despite their combined effort, Njar defeats Quay. Dek watches in horror as his brother falls. Quay gives him one final look, not of fear, but encouragement, silently urging him to survive and finish what their father began. Grief turns into fury within Dek, but he understands he cannot defeat Njar alone. Their father leaves him alive, partly out of respect for Yautja ritual, believing that survival through trial is the only way Dek can prove himself. Dek later crash lands on Jenna, a hostile alien world filled with dangerous creatures, aggressive plants, and environmental hazards. The environment itself is threatening, with strange terrain, unpredictable wildlife, and constant danger. Immediately, Dek realizes this is not a normal hunt. He moves cautiously, scanning for signs of life while preparing his weapons. A low, guttural roar is heard nearby. Something massive is close. Through his thermal vision, movement is detected, while root-like creatures stalk him from behind. The fight that follows is instinctive and violent. Dek swings his wrist blades and dodges incoming attacks, but the encounter is brutal. He realizes that on this planet he is no longer the hunter, he has become prey. The fight ends with Dek narrowly escaping. He retreats to higher ground, observing the alien landscape below. While resting, Dek examines the damage to his armor and weapons. He begins to understand that strength alone will not keep him alive. Strategy, patience, and adaptability are required. While exploring further, Dek encounters a humanoid figure named Thea, who is trapped and in need of help. She calls his name and begins communicating with him. Thea explains that many Yautja have come to Jenna to hunt the creature known as Kalisk, but none have survived. A flying predator suddenly dives toward Dek, screeching as it prepares to strike. Thea urgently warns him that the creature will kill him unless he moves faster. During the attack, Dek is poisoned and begins to collapse. Thea instructs him to use one of his weapons so she can help defend him. Eventually, the predator retreats, confused and frustrated. Thea then speaks more calmly, telling him that survival on Jenna requires more than instinct, it requires thought and cooperation. Dek realizes that her quick thinking has saved his life. After surviving the attack, Dek and Thea move cautiously through the alien forest. They reach a shallow river covered with thick vegetation. As Dek hesitates, a small but fast predator bursts from the water and attacks, but Thea guides him through the danger. The creature retreats, and Dek recognizes that Thea is not simply giving orders, she is guiding his survival. After several encounters, Thea becomes badly damaged and can no longer walk. Dek realizes that if they are to survive, he must carry her. Using durable alien vines cut from nearby plants, he secures her tightly to his back and continues moving. Later, they pause on a plateau to rest. Thea explains that someone came with her, Tessa, who was meant to guide them through the planet but is now missing. While crossing a rocky canyon, they encounter a small creature later called Bud. They realize they are not alone. Bud attempts to attack Dek, and a brief confrontation occurs, but Bud fails to defeat him. When another predator returns, Dek kills it. Bud is surprised by Dek's fighting ability and eventually decides to follow and assist them. Tessa, Thea's sister, has been rebuilt and returns to the forest to continue her research mission. After a successful hunt, the group rests by a fire and shares food. Bud shows appreciation and marks Dek as a member of his family. During the conversation, Thea explains that her purpose is to find Tessa, while Dek admits that he no longer has a family after his brother's death. Thea explains that she has two missions, to find her sister and recover her missing legs. Bud grows attached to Dek and begins copying his behavior. Tessa's mission is revealed to involve capturing creatures for research purposes. The next morning, Dek decides to leave Bud behind and continue only with Thea, but she disagrees, reminding him that Bud saved his life. When they reach a waterfall, Dek discovers a callus tooth and realizes the creature is close. They eventually reach a ship where Thea recovers her legs and upgrades her systems. She thanks Dek for helping her survive. Thea explains that her company sent them to hunt Kalisk and warns Dek to leave, as the company intends to capture him. He refuses to go. Dek creates a fire, drawing Kalisk toward him. The battle is intense. Kalisk demonstrates tissue regeneration, rebuilding itself after being wounded. Although powerful, the creature does not kill Dek because Bud has marked him, making Dek part of Kalisk's family. During the fight, Tessa arrives with a special freezing weapon capable of turning targets into ice. Both Kalisk and Dek are frozen and transported to a laboratory where samples are taken. Dek's technology is studied, and attempts are made to read his mind. Thea manages to save Dek, remembering that he helped her survive. Dek escapes and returns to his brother's ship, only to find that many parts have been removed. He activates the ship and retrieves his brother's element, mourning his loss. He then collects weapons from the planet in preparation for another confrontation. Upon finding Bud again, he realizes that Bud is Kalisk's offspring. Using Thea's legs to guide him, he travels to the company laboratory to stop Tessa from capturing both Thea and Kalisk. Dek, Thea, and Bud fight together as a team. Kalisk is rescued, and Dek is accepted as part of Jenna's family. However, Tessa uses the freezing weapon again, embedding it into Kalisk's body and killing it, leaving the group devastated. When Tessa attempts to kill Thea, Dek attacks from behind and kills her. Dek later returns to the Yautja homeworld, but no one believes he survived. When he meets his father again, Jar orders his army to kill him. Dek defeats them quickly, demonstrating how much he has changed. Jar attacks him personally, but Dek's experience allows him to overpower and weaken him. In the final moment, Bud arrives and kills Jar, ending the conflict.